Hello, welcome to the You Are the Program podcast. Michigan State 3-0 beat Youngstown State. There's a lot to talk about, though. So let me welcome in my co-hosts here, Don Terzano, Tyler Higbee, Brian Lewerke. It is early Sunday morning, probably the earliest we've ever recorded. So if you hear a little clearing of the throat, that is why. How are we doing, fellas?
We're feeling good, though. Michigan State gets the win against Youngstown State. Maybe not the win. Didn't win maybe the way we wanted to, but we got the win nonetheless, and we're 3-0. Need three more games for a bowl game as we start Big Ten play here coming up soon. So feeling good.
Well, you can't ask for much more than being 3-0 after the first 3 weeks. You've done what you wanted to do through non-conference play. I'd argue the scoreboard kind of shows you won the way you wanted to win. Maybe not as much covering, but, offense put up 40 points for back-to-back games. They showed the stat after the game for the first time since 2017. So at least that's a bright spot. But for what it's worth, this team's 0-3 against the spread for whoever's counting.
Good point.
Yeah, we'll talk a little more in detail with the offense and defense, but I think the biggest thing that we all wanted to see, I recognize that we didn't hit it in any sort of pregame podcast, but whenever you play these types of teams, you want it to be crisp, you want it to look good, clean, and get your starters in and out. That's kind of the biggest issue that didn't happen, and we'll get into some of the reasons why that didn't happen, but just an initial thing or an initial storyline here. Very, very, very happy to see Aiden Childs have that clean of a game now 2 weeks in a row. Like that is at least something that we all talked about and said he looked very good early on, and he continued to look very good early on, and it feels like he's getting comfortable. Granted, we know it's a different level of opponent, but that was at least very good to see.
Yeah, that's probably the main storyline I think that I'm taking away from this game. We've talked about his need to improve as the season goes on, and even from last season, and I think he's done exactly that. Still hasn't really put the ball in harm's way. That interception that he had in the game, it's definitely not his fault. It's kind of an unlucky play on his part. Obviously, Brandon Tolis needs to get a little better of a block on the blitzing linebacker. But Aiden Childs has done a great job of not putting the ball in harm's way. He's been a lot more accurate with the football, making good decisions, except trying to hurdle a guy in the third or fourth quarter, whatever quarter it was.
My jaw dropped when I saw that.
That was funny. But I'm definitely impressed with what I'm seeing from Aiden Childs, and I'm liking his progression.
I'd almost argue that yesterday was his best performance, at least in the first half, with his decisiveness. He was on time, his accuracy. There's a few throws that you mentioned it. Not you texted the group. You said if that's 2 feet inside, it's a pick six. And he was on time. He was on target. I can only remember one bad throw that if he hits the guy, it's a first down. It's probably 15, 20-yard gain.
But Mari Kelly as well. He missed a wide open touchdown. But
yeah, that one too. But overall, I'm very, very, very pleased and impressed with the progress Aiden Childs has made from last year through 3 games this year.
Yeah, the nitpicking is a lot different, right? It's missing a throw here and there or a decision here or there, but it's not the turnover-worthy decision or didn't read coverage, right? And so that's the thing. And Tyler, you hit it specifically, the decisiveness that he's had early on, and especially first half of this game. He knew where to go with the ball. And play calling wise, it felt like if they're going to give Nick Marsh 10 yards, which I loved early on, just give him the ball, and they had one corner out there and he beat him, I think 3 or 4 times in the open field. So that was really good to see. So I think that's really the main storyline coming out of this game, as we all talked about. One other thing I wanted to talk about before getting into specifics offensively or defensively, we had an absolutely elite day of college football yesterday. I didn't even realize it till it came up on the night slate, because throughout the day, yes, you had Georgia, Tennessee, which was playing at the same time as us. So I think when our game finished, theirs was just about to finish, and you got to see the last 2 minutes of that game. phenomenal game. And then the whole night slate felt like a really good
Yeah.
LSU, Florida, Notre Dame, Texas A&M, an instant classic. What else was there at night? Ole Miss, Arkansas.
Yeah.
West Virginia, Pitt was pretty good.
Elite
Overtime
slate
game
of
as well.
football.
It was a great day of football. Yeah.
Did anyone stay up for the Minnesota Cal game?
I tried. I was on my couch at about 1:30, and I didn't last for the entire game.
I watched until about midway through the third quarter.
Yeah.
You guys should have gotten your reps in with the time change because Michigan State USC is coming up quick. Quick.
Hey, this is going to be an extra espresso martini or something.
Yeah, I got a cup of coffee here to my left, and I don't know if I'm going to get the game. So I will be on my honeymoon next week. So you guys will have to spearhead the pregame, postgame. I'm not returning until after the bye week, so that's the good news. The bad news is it's you two on an island next week. I don't even know if that's bad news.
Yeah, it'd be fine. What day do you leave?
Friday.
Okay.
So I'm gonna land in Portugal at like Saturday morning, and it's 5 hours ahead.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a chance, though, that by the time I wake up, like on Saturday, because it's going to kick off at 4 a.m. over there, there's a chance that game's on. And I'll probably wake up at like 5 a.m. just because I'm so far ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right. Michigan State offensively, and let's talk about first the injuries, because the number one thing that we talked about being clean, getting in, getting out, getting your starters out. Well, that didn't happen at all because the starters played the entirety of the game for the most part, or at least the ones that didn't get hurt. I was talking to you guys about the snap counts, and this was the interesting parts about it. But let's focus injuries right now. So we have Ashton Lepo goes off in the first half. Luka Bencic gets carted off in the first half. Mekhi Frazier, I think second half, gets hurt, couldn't put any weight on his leg. Good news is Jonathan Smith, it sounds like it's not going to be anything long-term. Feels like it's probably just an ankle sprain of some sorts, which thank God it's not very long-term, broken, anything like that.
Yeah.
Who else? Let me see. I'm trying to go through my notes. Nick Marsh gets hurt. He got hurt on a play that doesn't seem too serious. But
yeah,
we'll
that one was just weird because he was out there and then all of a sudden he wasn't. And he was still on the sideline. It just looked like a helmet to the knee, maybe. That's what I'm hoping for. And it was just like a bone bruise, which are painful. And they're just being cautious because we need him next week. I think that's best case scenario. I think that's what we're all hoping for.
What I'm kind of hoping is that none of these injuries were super serious and they were just treating it a lot more serious than what they needed to because it was Youngstown State and we knew we were going to win the game regardless of really who was out there. So that's what I'm optimistically hoping for. Hopefully I'm right.
Well, Christian Phillips, the other guard that had gotten hurt, he had returned to the game, which was good news. But this kind of goes into the rotating offensive line discussion. Because we had probably, I'm trying to get back to the snap counts with PFF, which this always takes me forever. Anyways, this is kind of what goes into the rotating and what we talked about before the game. This is a game where you want to see them continue to rotate offensive linemen for this reason specifically, so you don't put too many snaps on the guys. The only thing that I don't love, like I said, is your best offensive lineman who thank God did not get hurt. With Matt Golban, he played all 63 snaps. You don't want to put 63 snaps on these guys, during this game right before you go out to USC. Connor Moore, the interesting part, we talked about the offensive line rotation at length with Justin Thind, and he had called out Connor Moore specifically as he needs to play almost all the time because he's really flashed. I thought he's been really good through the early parts of the season. And the interesting part here is he played 59 of the 63 offensive snaps, which I think that's a good progression. If we want to look at an outlier in terms of the offensive line rotation, is it seems like he's starting to fortify himself there at the right tackle spot. I will, however, just kind of rein that back because his backup, Ashton Lepo, did get hurt very quickly into that game.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it is good to see a little more stability in the offensive line. And we were talking about Stanton Ramil as well. Higby, you were saying that he's more of a run block guy, you think, instead of a pass block guy. And did we say he got hurt or did he get just pulled in that game?
I think he just got pulled.
He got pulled. Yeah. Okay.
That's what it looked like. Yeah. I mean, certain guys. I mean, I'll take myself for example. I was way more comfortable pass blocking than run blocking. I felt like I was better at it. I mean, it just depends on the guy. And to me, it appears that Ramil might be a slightly better run blocker than pass blocker. But Dante, you mentioned his grade. He graded out a lot better pass blocking this week than last week, and better pass blocking than run blocking this week again. So that's just the eye test to me. But we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the stats here. Sorry, keep going. This is where I get screwed up with PFF.
I'll say this.
It is confusing.
One thing
I can't get into like the total game stats, and I wanted to break down some of the run game though in general. And this is the one thing that we talked about Aiden Childs' progression and his decisiveness. He accounted for, I think, over 340 yards of offense, which continues to be great. But the run blocking in general just was not great. Through the first two games, we kept ripping off chunk yards, and it felt like we could get something consistently going through the run game to where we didn't have to rely on the pass game, Aiden Childs. And it just didn't seem like that was the case in this game, which was a little bit concerning, being at a Youngstown State team. Now, there could have been more of an emphasis on the pass game for the offense and wanting to continue to keep Aiden Childs, hot or keep him going and in a good rhythm, being as it's a game against a lower level team where you feel comfortable that you can move the ball offensively. It's something that we saw like in the Michigan game, and I texted you guys pretty early on in that Michigan game. The coaching staff for Michigan clearly wanted to get Bryce Underwood very comfortable, have a game where he puts up very good stats and their offense can kind of fly. That might have been also the game plan here for Aiden Childs and Michigan State, to where they put a concentrated effort on the pass game. They want to get this offense points. They want to get them comfortable with scoring points, and not just have methodical drives. It felt like the first drive was very long, and then besides that, we just kept hitting chunk plays.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that if we're letting Aiden Childs throw the ball. Looking at his stats on the year, they're actually quite impressive. 71% completion, 650 yards, 6 touchdowns, only that one interception that I mentioned earlier that wasn't really his fault. So, again, his progression has been great. I was looking at the rushing yards from this game as well. A little higher than I thought they would be. I think a lot of that is from Aiden Childs' scrambling and his designated runs. We had 174 yards on 33 carries, so about a little over 5 yards a carry. But the running backs didn't do much. I mean, our Mekhi Frazier had 22 yards on 12 carries. Elijah Tolliver had 37 yards on 4 carries, and really just that one big run kind of at the end of the game. And Aiden Childs was our leading rusher with 76 yards. So the run game was not what I expected it to be this game. It's kind of been a consistent thing for us the past couple of weeks. I feel like we didn't get that really going this week, which is fine if it's an outlier, but you got to be able to establish that run game, especially come Big Ten play.
Yeah, to your point, just real quickly, and the pure run game, to your point, Tolliver had the longest run of 22 yards, and that came on the final drive of the game. Besides that, Brandon Tullis had a 10-yard run, was the longest before that last drive of the game.
Yeah,
outside of the
100 yards
Childs
total
QB.
besides Childs.
Yeah.
What did you say, Tyler?
Less than 100 yards, 98 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Without
Yeah.
Childs runs.
Yeah.
Which isn't good. That's not going to win you many games if you're not able to run the ball. I mean, unless Childs plays out of his mind, which he's been phenomenal so far this year. But can you expect to beat an Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon's of the world? Like, can you expect to beat those kind of teams if you're rushing for less than 100 yards? I don't know. Puts a lot of pressure on Childs.
And I'm trying to do the quick math here. Of the 63 offensive plays that we ran, outside of the Aiden Childs runs, which he had a couple designated runs, outside of the Aiden Childs runs, they had
25.
11, 23, 25. Just 25 pure runs outside of him, and 2 of those were reverses as well. And that's one thing to wrap up the offense here that I wanted to point out. I think play calling wise, you at least saw early on, which we haven't seen a ton of. I feel like prior to this game, a lot of the motions and reverse action. The first touchdown of the game was scored by Rodney Bullard on a reverse touchdown that right into a corner blitz. We talked about this. You got to check out of that. Ended up making a great play. But that's one thing I'm interested in because it seems like it's very planned, a lot of these game plan things against a FCS opponent, especially the week before you go into a big game. I'm just interested to see how much they show different looks off of that next week against USC because you're very intentional about what you put on tape or what you don't put on tape in an FCS game when you have a big game coming up.
Yeah.
It was that first touchdown was a great play in the reverse end around, whatever you want to call it. I just thought it was hilarious because I texted you guys. I'm like, reverse into a corner blitz, nice.
Yeah,
it was not necessarily how you want to draw it up, but it worked out.
I think it was like a condensed split on the side, so there wasn't like a split out wide receiver where the corner blitz from. So it's like kind of tough to see. Like as a quarterback, I probably wouldn't have checked out of it because it doesn't look like there's really a blitz. So that's probably why. I mean, it just happened to work. I think the corner just kind of triggered hard. I don't even know if he was supposed to blitz. He just saw run and triggered hard on the run. But when you got Christian McCray making plays back there and scoring, Bullard, then it's working great.
All right, let's anything else offensively? I think we hit on kind of the big things. Childs looked good. Offensive line continues to look shaky in different areas of the game. But it did feel like Aiden Childs had a ton of time to throw. That's one thing we haven't talked about, pass protection. Brian, I feel like you or Tyler at some point during the game said it felt like he had 10 seconds to throw on some of those deep shots where he was looking. So
it helps when they rush 3, though. Like they rush 3 for a lot of the game.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if you're not having all day to throw, then you got big issues.
It's something
we got to mention Jack Velling coming out party.
Yes.
Hey, his first 2 catches.
That was
back,
really
Jack
nice
Velling.
6 catches for 70 yards for Velling. That's good to see.
Yeah.
And there were some great catches too. The one back shoulder throw on the fake bubble or the fake receiver screen that he had caught. It was another very well placed ball from Aiden Childs. The place you're supposed to put it, back shoulder away from the defender, and it was an unbelievable catch by Jack Velling. So it's great to see him work himself back into the offense. And it's not just the catches that he made. His first catch of the game, it was a catch, broke a couple tackles, and gained probably 20 yards on that play. Yeah. I think he does add another element because Michael Masunis caught another touchdown today. He's a very good, I think, blocking tight end. And off of that, he gets a lot of those dump-offs, rollouts, whatever off of play action. But when Jack Velling is truly a tight end that I do feel is a difference maker at that position that not only can catch the ball for you and be a weapon, but also stretch it vertically and add another element to the offense. So it's good to see him work in before a big game with USC coming up. So good shout out there, good catch there.
One more quick point too. To your point about Masunis being a good blocker. That touchdown they scored after the Amari Kelly punt return when they were down to the 2 or 3 yard line, whatever it was. Masunis had a very nice block down on the D end. We call it a pancake block back in the day, but he's got the edge sealed, and it was a walk in for Cal Tolliver.
Come on.
This offense is beginning to get fun, and you put up 41 points. Again, it's a Youngstown State team, but it's good to at least see that side of the ball start to have that success that we want to see them have. And like I said, coming out, when the offense puts that up and they that's the attitude that you want to see the offense have in a game like this, is you put up 41 points, you're very effective. The sad part is, and we'll transition to the defense here, they didn't have a lot of opportunities in the first half. I think it was 3 total drives.
Yeah. It was
Three
absurd.
total drives in the first half. They scored on the first two, did not score in the third, but that's why it's a lot closer at half and through a majority of this game. So let's flip defensively, because this is where there's a lot of issues. And I the first thing I put on our notes is this defense has had a lot of communication, a lot of misassignments, busts in the past couple games, and it continued here. I'm going to look for a tweet that I had seen. I believe it was Maxwell Klitschke that had tweeted it. But while I find that, defensively, like I said, gave up I think 5 plays that totaled more than half of their total yardage, and outside of that, they only averaged I think 2.8 yards per play, which is good. But this is starting to become a common theme with the defense that needs to get figured out, especially going into a USC game.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Bo Brungard, Youngstown's quarterback, was better than what I would have expected from a Youngstown State quarterback. Obviously, his running ability was something that we knew about, and he was still able to do that. But it's kind of the same stuff we talk. I mean, we've hammered this point home in our pre-games, in the preseason pods, just the inability to get a pass rush and force the quarterback to make quick decisions. I think it's still something that's not going to bode well for us come Big Ten play. And there are still some busts in the back end. Youngstown had a couple long plays, like you mentioned, Dante, that would have maybe flipped the switch a little more in our direction if those plays don't happen. So I think the defensive side of the ball is definitely the side that needs a little more help and a little more have a little more communication, and if we want to go to the places that we want to go this year.
Yeah, the pass rush is obviously needs to be a point of emphasis. We've talked about it so far this year. Finally got a sack there the last play of the game, but I mean, it's garbage time. Not a sack that really mattered. It's great to get one on the board, but need one when it actually matters. The part for me that's really concerning is this defense continues to give up the seam, whether it's a tight end, whether it's a receiver. I mean, Youngstown hit him a couple times last night right up the seam, and it's not the first time it's happened this year. I mean, BC had the tight end running down the seam a couple times. That was a couple of the bust coverage touchdowns that we talked about. So there's something going on there in the secondary where guys are not communicating, not identifying their man, their matchup. You got guys running down the seam wide open. So that needs to get fixed in a hurry.
Certainly does. The stat was on 5. They have 5 plays of 20-plus yards, totaling 177 yards. And the rest of the 56 plays, they totaled 162 yards. So that really just emphasizes how much, not only in a game like this against Youngstown State, it can skew the result and skew the perception of the defense, but it can actually change a game. And in a game against the USC or against a higher level opponent, that will definitely sink you if you're giving up, again, 5 explosive plays doesn't seem like a ton, but it can change a game, and it changes the perception of this one. The one thing I do want to say defensively, especially about the linebackers early on, Brian, you talked about Bo Brungard. It felt like the linebackers were very hesitant in the first series, and I give a lot of credit. I was going to say precedent. I give a lot of
credit.
What's the word I'm looking for here?
Credit.
Yes. I don't know why I said precedent. It still works. It's early in the morning. We've never.
You okay?
Cobwebs. I give a lot of credit to Youngstown State for the game plan that they designed, especially early on. The first drive totaled, I think, 7.5 minutes.
They emptied the clip on the first drive.
fake QB powers, end arounds.
They threw a double pass. They threw, I think, a reverse flea flicker that was another 20-ish yards to the tight end up the sideline. And Brian, to your point, they ran the fake QB power into a pass, and then I think Bo Brungard ended up taking off for about 10 yards. So I give credit for that game plan and what they did early on, but it did seem like the linebackers were a little bit hesitant, and especially how Youngstown State was kind of calling that first drive, because I guarantee it was a big thing coming out in that game, at least defensively on the game plan, knowing what Bo Brungard did or does offensively and run the ball a lot. they kind of had them back on their heels to where they didn't know if they should trigger. They didn't know how quickly they should come up. And it felt like that was mitigated throughout the game, but especially in that first drive, because there was just some plays where, whether not even the big plays, but just the in-between stuff, to where they would get 5 to 6 yards because both run guard would kind of scramble around and find his way for 5 or 6 or 10, whatever it might be. And those linebackers, that's really the biggest spot where you just got to go, because if you give him time, he was quicker than I thought he would be. And he kind of ripped off those chunk plays in between all of those trick plays.
Yeah, I will add one caveat to that, Dante. I'm not too concerned with the first, if the first drive doesn't go well, because I feel like that's kind of just like a feeling out the team type of drive, and our defense is trying to figure out what they're doing offensively, and then you can adjust based off of that. But I think you do have a point. The linebackers seemed a little timid to kind of get downhill quickly. And I think the thing that concerns me the most defensively is you don't really just flip a switch and all of a sudden you can have a pass rush and you can defend the back end easily. I think it's just kind of how we're going to be. And it's going to put a lot of emphasis on this offense to score a lot of points. Because I think we're going to give up maybe 4 touchdowns a game, 28 points to some of these better Big Ten teams. So that's just kind of what concerns me, is you don't really kind of change who you are as a defense. So hopefully we can maybe get some more pressure, but I think this is kind of just going to be how it's going to be for the rest of the season.
I agree. I'll say this. I texted you guys. I was going to make a point about the D-line. As an O-lineman, I can see when teams are about to twist from a mile away. So, to the naked eye, you may not be able to tell. But if you're watching the game, like Michigan, we were about to run a twist up front, and the 2 interior guys between the nose and the 3 technique, one of them's lined up a little farther back. But you can tell, maybe not to the average viewer, but our guy was lined up a yard off the ball. And I just kind of laughed. I'm like, well, here comes a twist. Because, as a lineman, that's stuff you look for. That's stuff you watch during the week and film. And you see when your 3 technique is a yard off the ball. Well, twist. And it was. And Youngstown picked it up with ease. So, I give credit to Joe Rossi for trying different things. But, when it's that obvious, it's not going to be as effective.
Those are the little details that this defense needs to continue to improve on. We had a good conversation with Justin Thind again, talking about the offensive line and playing off of what you just talked about, Higby, whether it is a blitz that we're giving away early or whether it is some type of stunt up front. It's those little things in detail that can really make you ineffective in a lot of different areas, because to your point, you're putting it on film already against Youngstown State. USC is going to see that. And so it's something that you got to work through and hammer into especially the front 4, if they're giving away, the games and stunts that easily. So that way we just talked about it. It's not surprising at all to the offensive line then what's going to happen or what's coming next. So it's a good point and something to you viewers, that if you're watching it and you see right down that line, if you see one of the defensive tackles, Tyler just talked about 3 technique or nose, one of those 2 head up over the center, just slightly over the center. The other defensive tackle, if they're a little pressed back or a yard off the line of scrimmage, if you just see that little bit of difference in yardage, there's probably, to Tyler's point, some type of twist or stunt coming up front that the offense is probably going to pick up as well. So
I noticed that on the offensive side of the ball too. There was one play, Big Dooley was at right guard, and we were running power to the left, and he's like clearly like almost a full yard behind the center. I'm like, all right, this guy's pulling. So yeah, that's something you can't really have.
There's some dead giveaways. Even they showed a replay, and one of the guards was in his stance but facing their direction he's about to go. And it's like that's stuff I'm trying to get my high schoolers right now not to do.
Yeah.
It's I don't want to spin that positively, because that's something that needs to change, because whether it's ineffectiveness in the run game, it all goes to the point of, if you're nervous about any part of this team and you see those things happening, the other team can definitely see those things happening as well. And those are the little details that will continue to, or need to continue to get worked out and need to continue to be fixed. Because those stop the ineffectiveness of the offensive line. It doesn't matter how good your offensive line is. If the defense knows what you're going to do by a tell, they're going to know exactly what's going to happen. They watch film all week. All the coaches will tell you all the tips and tricks and giveaways. And when it's that obvious, it will certainly sink you up front, no matter how good your offensive line is. You could have an NFL offensive line, and if they're giving away the play where the defensive knows where they're going, they can concert all of their energy and focus right to that spot. So defensively, a lot of work to do on the back end. Amorian Smith had a great interception as a positive. Yeah. Really, really good play. Tyler, to your point, the tight end was running wide open up the seam again, but at least in coverage that time, it seemed like they were kind of baiting him into that throw. It was a great break on the ball, great play. It was a bad throw.
Yeah, that's a pretty bad throw.
I think he threw it when they showed
he threw it really late and really behind the guy.
But either way, if he threw it in front of him, that was also getting picked.
Yeah.
So I think coverage-wise, that was one of the good highlights on that. And then down the field vertically, they only gave up the one. I think it was another seam ball deep. I think it was contested, but still, there was just too much going on with the coverage bust. We saw at Boston College, saw it tonight or last night. So this team's got to continue to evolve, continue to improve on the little things. I really think it's a lot of these little things that are stacking up right now, and you can't have that going into next week against USC.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're good talking about the Michigan State Youngstown game. Let's look now around the Big Ten. Actually, one more thing before we get to the Big Ten stock market here, the stock up, stock down, Big Ten stock market. Special teams continue to be very good. We didn't see a lot of the punting this week, but kicking-wise, I think we've finally started to get some resolution and clarity. I think last week obviously gave us that clarity, but Martin Connington seems to be the real deal. He's been very, very efficient so far. And then Amari Kelly in the punt return game. This is now 2 weeks in a row. Last week it was Alante Brown with the kick return game. This week, Amari Kelly should have taken that to the house. I don't know how he doesn't just get by the last guy. But the punt return game and the kick return game, special teams wise, that will win you games. And if we continue to have a good special teams return unit, that is something to watch out for. And I'm very happy with the progression on special teams. So just wanted to give a shout out there.
Yeah, I don't know much about kicking the football, but the way the ball comes off of Martin Connington's foot, it looks different, and it looks like he's got some power behind the ball. So I'm pretty happy with our kicking game.
Yeah, special teams are a weapon, and so far we're using them to our advantage. So that's been good to see.
Yep.
All right, it is now time for the Big Ten stock market update, week 3. Where we will give you our stock up, stock down, who to look for, what we're buying, what we're selling in the Big Ten this week. Who wants to start this? I know there wasn't a lot of huge games in the Big Ten this week. What, Brian? Do you have a couple off the top of your head here?
I do. I'm buying stock in USC, which is unfortunate because we play them this week, but they are looking pretty solid. They went to a Purdue venue that is typically a place where good teams go to lose. And they handled Purdue by a couple touchdowns, so that was pretty impressive to see. So this game this week will be pretty telling, I think, of where we are as a team. Michigan, I think, also looked very good again. I think last week with Bryce Underwood at Oklahoma, he was just maybe a little rattled in his first away game and trying to get a sense of things, but I think Michigan is still a very good program. My stock down, Minnesota, I guess. I think they're still good. I think they lost to Cal by a couple touchdowns. I think this Cal team is also pretty solid, better than what people are giving them credit for. And then Minnesota having to go all the way down to Cal is pretty tough. So I don't think Minnesota is bad by any means, but I think they did. Obviously, they lost a game that is across the country, so their stock's down a little bit for me.
It continues to be that I mean, we knew it when we went to Arizona State, right? You play that late game, and this is going to be
Yeah.
something that's obviously going to factor in for us next week. The Midwest team going out west always seems to be a tough or a tougher trip than just what meets the eye with it. And there's a lot that goes into that, but the late kick is a big thing. Minnesota was also down Darius Taylor, their best running back, which take that with a grain of salt, but obviously losing by 2 scores, I don't know if that changes it a ton. But yeah, always going from East Coast to West Coast is always a big issue for teams out east here.
Yeah, you mentioned Brian. We'll learn a lot about this team this weekend because if our listeners, I don't know if they were paying attention to some of the other scores around the country yesterday, but Boston College losing to Stanford. That's it's not great for our strength of schedule. That's for sure.
Can we like caveat that though? I mean, I know I just talked about the East Coast to West Coast thing. They had to do that. I mean, they traveled to us, which isn't that long of a flight, but still, they travel to us, go back, and then travel to Stanford, and they have the late kick. Like, I know it's not a great optics, and maybe Boston College just isn't very good at all. But I do think that a lot of that travel is to play. So I don't want anyone to freak out about, well, we might be toast, we might be cooked because they lost on the road to Stanford a week after playing on the road at us.
No, I'm with you. I texted y'all last night. Like, if I'm BC, I would have almost considered just flying out to Palo Alto after the game last week and staying out there. Because, granted, from East Lansing to wherever they fly to in Boston, Boston, Logan, whatever, wherever they fly to, it's probably an hour flight, maybe. But it's that plus getting ready for, like, I don't know, just a lot of stuff that goes into flying and travel. But here in my stock up, I'll say USC. I'm not sure there's really anybody that super impressed me yesterday. Indiana, but how good is Indiana State? I'll set my biggest stock down. If you had any stock left in UCLA, I would just get rid of it for pennies on the dollar because there's a very good chance they win one game, maybe 2 games. Looking at their schedule, I mean, they are abysmal.
Yeah, 2 games might be a stretch for them.
There are 2 games that are 2 games that are winnable, or Northwestern on the road and Maryland at home.
Yeah, and I mean, if you tell me right now, I'm picking Maryland.
Yeah.
So they might win 1 game.
Yeah, that's almost a must-win game for us now. Like, it's at home,
Yes.
at homecoming, October 11th.
Yes.
We have to win that game.
I also had USC stock up, but is there any thought to buying a little bit of Purdue stock? Because I didn't think they looked awful, and they're certainly a lot better than what we were projecting in the offseason. I think they have a good coaching staff, and I obviously had, I think, 80 transfers or something. So I think at least the respectability of what they're putting up on a week-to-week basis is something worth paying attention to, because, Brian, you talked about it week 1. We all said that they were going to be the worst team in the Big Ten. I think it's clear that they're not going to be the worst team in the Big Ten now.
Yeah. I think both Purdue and Northwestern is still not very good, but Purdue's definitely better than what I thought they were going to be. And Northwestern kept it somewhat close with Oregon.
Their quarterback's just not it.
Yeah.
Preston Stone is not it.
He's not it.
That field is not it.
It looks kind of sick. I wouldn't hate playing there.
I don't think it looks sick. That was the first time I've seen it on camera. I don't love it.
Looks like not even a high school stadium from the camera angle. And I know on the way towards the camera that you don't see unless they pan to the press box and everything else. But on the way away from the camera, there's 8 rows up. It's not a lot of stands over there, so it looks tough. But their new stadium's going to be sweet. All right, my stock down also is UCLA. Brian, you talked about it. Tyler, you talked about it. They might win 2 games. Might. That's a very big might. And their over/under on the year was 5.5. So I think we can go ahead and lock up that under for UCLA because going 0-3 against the schedule of Utah, who I think Utah could be very good this year.
Yeah.
But losing at UNLV and losing at home against New Mexico, just not it. So the UCLA big time stock down.
That Nico Malieva experiment's not working out so great.
No.
They just look like one of those teams too that they are not buying anything that the coach is selling, and especially with the early season results, like it's going to be very fascinating to see how poorly that thing goes the rest of the year, because again, they're going to play, I want to say their next game. I think they play at Northwestern next week, and then they start to play Ohio State. I think they play Penn State. It could get dark pretty quickly there. Like
they could,
dark.
Yeah. I mean, I think they still have good players, and they could steal a couple games, but I don't know.
It's all about the buy-in, though. Like,
yeah.
Are they really going to buy in and get up for each of these games on a week-to-week basis, or are they going to pack it in?
Yeah.
I don't know how much
it's hard when
the coach has.
Yeah.
All right. Are we all good with the Big Ten stock market report there, week 3?
I'm good.
All good.
Let's go into locks. I finally got off the mat here. Vandy plus 4.5.
They're good.
They might be onto something, man. They smoked South Carolina, and I know Lenora Sellers had gotten hurt in that game midway through, but they were up 21-7 at that point. I think it was in the third quarter as well. So I am buying a lot of Vandy stock. I said on the pregame pod when I handed this out, that's a program that knows exactly what they are. And Diego Pavia's, he's so much fun to watch. I watched a little bit of that game in between A&M and Notre Dame and all the other games that were going on, but they know exactly who they are, and that's a good football program.
Yeah. I had Oregon minus 27.5. Hand up, that was a sucker bet. I fell for the Oregon trap. I mean, I thought Oregon was a very, very good football team, which they still are. But I thought they were a good enough team to go at Northwestern into a stadium that holds 5,000 people and beat them by 50. That clearly didn't happen. So I lost them 2-1 on the season. They actually were covering, at least. They were covering 27 until freaking Northwestern rips off a long run with a minute and a half left to only be down 21, which sucks.
But they took their foot off the gas pretty quickly. I mean, midway through that fourth quarter, they were up 34-0, and they pulled a lot of their starters.
Yeah. So, speaking of that too, our friend Justin Thind went 0-2 on his locks as well. He had Oregon along with me, and then he also had BC minus 10. So, maybe we just aren't good at picking games. I don't know.
His justification was he didn't think that the cross country travel was that big of a deal, and
clearly it is.
I think it is. Yeah.
To your point about Vanderbilt, Dante, real quick before I get into my lock, it's just crazy to me. We live in a world where Vanderbilt's actually good, and they didn't just strike gold or catch lightning in a bottle last year. There's just something in my brain. It's like a mental block. I can't, for whatever reason, accept the fact that they're good. So every time, like a game like yesterday, I thought it was going to be not easy, but I thought South Carolina was going to handle them. They obviously didn't. So I don't know. They're turning me into a believer, but for whatever reason, up until this point, there's just something in my head that I can't get over the fact that Vanderbilt's actually good.
It's hard to buy into. I mean, to your point, they've traditionally just been the doormat of the SEC, and now I think, are a legit SEC team.
My lock, or whatever you want to call it, I apologize to anybody that's actually tailing our picks because I've been awful. 0-3. There's nothing to say other than I just need to be better. I've got to hit the reset button, and I got to figure it out because there's no poor me's around here.
Oh, no one feels bad for you.
I don't need a pity party. All right.
No, we're not giving you one either.
Did you say what it was?
Oh yeah, USF plus 17.5. Which leads me to the next point. I think we all agree Miami might be a wagon, which is another team that I kind of like. I don't know if I trust them. I don't know what it is, but that's another team where I'm just kind of like. I mean, here's the question for the group. We talked about it last night. Right now, who are your national championship picks?
Yeah, this is
Like who has a legit chance in your mind to make
I think Penn State, Oregon, Ohio State from the Big Ten. I think LSU, Miami. I think that's it.
I was telling you guys, I think there's a bigger pool of teams that the national champion could come from. I think Notre Dame is still very much alive. Now, granted, I don't know if they get in with the two losses that they just took, but they lost on the road to Miami and at home against Texas A&M by a total of 4 points, and they probably don't. Well, I mean, the game's going into overtime. It's not like they lost that game on anything other than the fact that the holder dropped the snap. So, you know, I don't know. I think the pool's a lot bigger, but I think this year more than anything, which makes me say that is the delineation between any of the teams that you had just mentioned and the next like 10. I don't know how big that is. It's closer than it's ever been before.
Yeah.
Because even Ohio State, you know, they win at home 14-7 against Texas, and Texas doesn't look very good.
No.
I mean, Penn State, we have zero clue about. They played nobody. Oregon, again, they laid it on Oklahoma State. My question for Oregon, though, is going to be when someone takes away the short stuff for Dante Moore and takes away what Oregon's really good at, you know, the underneath stuff, which opens up all of their explosive stuff, how are they going to counter? So that's why the Penn State game is going to be really interesting to me. So I think there's still probably 10 teams that I could name that I think could win the national championship.
Okay.
I'm kind of with you, Brian. I don't know. I think there's 5 or 6 teams that I think have a legit chance. I think they'll separate themselves as we get more into the season. Never mind. I think A&M is solid, but we'll wait and see what they do the rest of the year. They're one of those teams that always seems to lose a game they shouldn't, and it puts them in a spot at the end of the year where it's like, well, what if they didn't do that? What if they didn't do this? So we'll see.
Yeah, it's college football this year and the NIL era has continued. The margin has continued to shrink the last 3 to 4 years between the top teams and the rest of the country. And it seems like it's continuing to trend that way in a 12-team playoff. I even said the reason I say that is like if Notre Dame gets in at 11 or 12, it wouldn't stun me if they just get hot and they just kind of go on a run. Like you've seen them against the Miami and they lost that game in a very tight one. But to your Miami point, I'm going to need to also see them do it because they haven't proven to have that throughout a whole year. But I think they're very for real as opposed to last year. Their defense was really bad last year. Their defense is legit this year, and Carson Beck's kind of living up to what he could be. So, all right. We have a massive game on the agenda this week. Michigan State going out to USC, where I told you guys very early on I could see a wide variety of outcomes here, and it's all about how this team's going to perform. We will have a pregame podcast this week. I will still be here for the pregame, and then it's up to you two for the postgame. Hopefully it's a very good postgame, an unbelievable postgame discussion. And we will talk to you guys next week. Go Green.